You are feeding a monster, and that monster is running your life, meaning your subconscious mind, and it's time to heal it. Okay. So, what is that going to look like? What is going to be the special sauce? What is going to be the secret, Michelle? What is going to be that one thing that's going to solve all of my problems? That's really going to just get things going in the right direction? Listen, babe, when I tell you you're not going to like it, but you're going to know it's the truth. You're going to know it's the truth. You ready? You're going to have to. If you're a woman who has been stuck in your masculine energy and you don't know what to do about it, you know that you need to change it. It's time to do something about it, but you just don't know how. It's like the harder you try to get out of it, it's like the more you're in it. Yeah, you might get a little softer, but there's an internal transformation that needs to occur. And if you're having a hard time going through that internal transformation, or you simply don't know how, you're not going to want to miss today's episode. Let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is Michelle Maiden, and I want to welcome you to the Boss Babe Sanctuary. This is a faith-based self-care community dedicated to the personal growth and development of women who have been misjudged, mislabeled, misrepresented, misunderstood most of their lives. Okay. You've probably been called too strong, too independent, too ambitious, too cold, too powerful, too this, to that, right? Or perhaps you're a workaholic. Listen, you probably relate to one of these labels or all of these labels. Either way, you are in the right place. So get comfortable. Today's going to be a really good show, and I am happy to have you here with us and to support you on your transformation journey. So let's get into today's episode. Hey, ladies. So, listen, have you ever had company coming over, or you needed to do a very quick cleaning, right? And you just needed things out of your way. So, you just started tossing stuff and parts of the closet, throwing things in the garage. You just needed all of that clutter out of the way, and you pushed it into any kind of storage you can find. You probably have a junk drawer right now in your home where it's filled with batteries and coins and pennies and knickknacks, just a bunch of things that you don't use, right? Now, this is not uncommon. There's plenty of people that have junk drawers. There's plenty of people that have things that they put away. We find ways to put things away. Now, I want to talk to you about your mind, because oftentimes that's how we deal with our feelings and our emotions and very traumatic experiences that we have had in our life. We typically try to hurry up and get those things out of the way, just push them away as far as possible, out of sight, out of mind. And we think that if they're out of sight, out of mind, that we are perfectly fine. We're okay. The space is clean and we can do the things that we need to do. But is that actually the truth? And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. We are going to start unpacking that junk drawer, that messy closet, that garage that has all of these things stuffed for the last decade that you need to confront and deal with, because you are becoming a hoarder. And you may not realize it, and you may not want to deal with it, but it's impacting and affecting your life. And we really want to deep dive into that, especially if you want to go into 2025 being the best version of yourself. Listen, we're going to have to unpack those closets. Okay. So get comfortable, get some popcorn, get some drink, do anything you need to do to make yourself feel good in this moment, because we're going to unpack some things. Okay. So get ready. So yeah, ladies, I want to dive in deeper into this concept of us like stuffing all of our feelings and emotions and traumas away. Well, I want to give you an analogy, right, to help you and to paint a picture. So imagine you have a closet, and every single horrible experience that you have, you stuff it in there. Okay. You've been betrayed, you have been abused, you are offended. You just take everything and you throw it into that closet. Again, out of sight, out of mind. That's what you think, right? Now you're thinking that when you stuff everything in that closet, that everything's perfectly fine. You have nothing to worry about. But is that really what's happening? That's what I want to confront. What we don't realize is what's really happening with that closet is that you are building a super computer. That closet is alive and you don't even realize it. So every time you throw something in there, what ends up happening is that closet is building a database in a code out of all of that information, out of all of that knowledge. So from that closet standpoint, Every time you put something in there, it must be extremely vitally important to you because that's why you're putting it in there. So it is building an entire machine to protect you based off of all of the materials that you've placed in there. Now, I want you to understand this. That closet is now becoming the control center. It's becoming a server room. So here it is. You're thinking that it's just some dark room that you're just throwing all your nonsense in, all those materials in that you don't care about. But really what's happening is it's building an entire program, an entire life out of all the things that you're throwing in there. And before you know it, in your real life, you're trying to manage the reality of your life. You're trying to manage the reality of your home. Maybe you have a smart home, and here you are, you're trying to control everything on the panel and do things that you intentionally want to do. You want to put the AC on 65 degrees, or you want to put the AC on 74 degrees, but the house starts going haywire and doing something different. So here it is, you have a thermostat or you have a smart home. You think you know the way that it's running, but something keeps interfering with it. It's like there's a bug in the system and you can't understand what's going on and why this is happening. And the harder and harder and harder you try to make this thing work, the more difficult it is for you. Why? Because what you're not realizing it is that you have built a supercomputer in that closet. Everything you threw in there that you thought you did not want, it's actually become something. It's turned into something. And that's what's running your home, not your thermostat, not your intentions. That's what's truly running your home. Now, this analogy that I'm giving to you and I'm sharing with you right now is really what happens with our mind. We think that when we go through some trauma or some pain in our life, that we can just throw it. It's out of sight, out of mind, and everything is perfectly fine and everything is perfectly okay, and we have nothing to worry about. That is not the reality, guys, of what happens. Your brain stores that information. When people are talking about the subconscious mind, it's all of that data that you stored under there that you've never confronted. So oftentimes people can make the subconscious mind sound like this elusive thing, right? Like you're daydreaming or you're sleepwalking, and then all of a sudden you're just running into things. You're outside in the middle of the night and you don't know how you end up there. Is there some truth to that, some validity to that? A little bit. But really what it is all those suppressed emotions and experiences and moments that you've buried so deep that you don't want to deal with. You literally have a code with yourself. You have an agreement with yourself that you will never face these things, that you will never confront these things, because you genuinely don't think that there's any purpose or any use of it. And this is how you end up in a situation where you are on this hamster wheel of life and you can't get off, and you're pedaling as fast as possible, and you're trying to figure out how to fix your life and you don't know how. And oftentimes, what do we end up thinking? We're going to fix it with a relationship, we're going to fix it with a career, right? Or we're going to fix it by, living a certain lifestyle. We think all of that fix it, but honestly, you're going to work extra hard. You're going to put yourself through more things than you need to. If you were to simply just sit down and allow yourself to be healed and transformed, then you would actually get the you that you need to be in order to manifest and create the life that it is that you desire to create. And that's what I want to talk about today, right? So in last week's episode, or the episode 2 weeks ago, I'll put a video of it here, we discussed the emotional sequence, okay? And this episode is going to be a build up on that. When you are in that emotional sequence that we discussed, right, there's basically different emotional activators that you may have. So one of those activators may be you have an issue with control, or you have an issue with rejection, or you have an issue with abandonment, right? These are just examples that I'm giving you. So now what happens is a situation happens in your life, it grazes against that, and then all of a sudden this sequence begins. Guys, I recommend you go check that episode if you haven't already. I believe it's Rewire Your Emotional Patterns. I believe it's September 26th. If you take a listen to that episode, it's really going to help you get more clarity on what we're discussing today. So when you are in that emotional sequence, what basically ends up happening is something happens again. I'll use that example of control again. It rubs against control and you begin to go through this sequence. It unlocks everything, just like that supercomputer. You press that button and all of a sudden the computer knows, okay, this means power up. This is what we're supposed to do. And before you know it, you have this robotic type of response and you don't understand how it's going about. If you've ever watched any of those sci-fi movies, right? People were afraid of AI and robots for the longest time because out of nowhere, the robots would just power up. And once the robots power up, they'll just start destroying things and people will not know how to turn the robots off because the robots have a mind of their own. This is what it looks like when your life is being being ran by that supercomputer, which is really your subconscious mind, which is really all of the data and materials that you've stored inside your mind from the things that you've experienced and you've gone through, that you have not confronted and dealt with, unpacked, and truly healed from, so that that computer system is not running your life any longer, or that program is not running your life any longer. So getting back to that emotional sequence, you're in this negative emotional sequence. Your emotions have been activated, whether it be that control, that abandonment, etc. And inheritance. Oh my gosh, I begin to feel fear. I go into a panic. Once I go to a panic, it may lead me to being hyper vigilant. That hyper vigilant may lead me to being hyper independent. The hyper independent, may lead to me feeling frustrated because I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for. That leads to me withdrawing. That leads to me feeling guilt and shame, which leads, and it's this whole cycle. We can go on and on and on. But what happens is that cycle is going to continue to repeat itself. Why? Because the activator is still on. What is the activator? Control. So because you are activated, that emotional sequence is activated by feeling a lack of control. Until you feel like you've regained control, that system, that emotional sequence is going to stay on. And it can be on overdrive right now. And we can have this thing, guy, for years, right? Like when I was in my strong, independent, masculine woman mindset, I lived in that state of mind for years. So your emotional sequence will become your entire identity. Why? Because that activator never turned off. So my activator is the fact that I need to be in control. I am operating on a system of fear. So because of that emotional sequence, it's jammed. It's not turning off. The only way I was ever able to turn it off was for me to deal with the things that were activating that emotion. I had to face those triggers. Now, a lot of women, we find ourselves, especially boss babes, we find ourselves operating in our masculine energy. You might be listening to this today and you're saying, what do I need to do to get out of my masculine energy? So as women, you can be stuck in that masculine state. And that's what it was for me, because that trigger is going. And because that trigger is going and is jammed shut, I'm in the emotional sequences that aligned with that trigger, with that activator. This is what we essentially go through. So what we need to start doing, and what you're going to need to do if you want to break free, is you're going to have to turn off that activating system. You're going to have to hit the kill switch, right? That's what you're going to have to do. Here's the problem. Where's the kill switch? This is where we begin to have issues, because oftentimes what we end up doing is trying to fight the symptoms. Oh, okay, you know what? I overreact a little bit too much. Oh my gosh, I'm too independent, right? Or I'm too strong. I just need to be less of this and I'll be okay. If I'm less of that, then I won't have that problem. But really, guys, trying to be less of something, what do you think would be easier? To keep trying to control something that keeps spilling out of you, or to completely transform the foundation of you so that won't even have to be a problem any longer? Now, here's the reality. I understand one route seems like, okay, that seems like a lot of work. It may seem that way in the beginning, but guess what? You know what's going to be more work? You still trying to hold on to the old version of you and scale it down. It's like treating symptoms, right? Oh, okay, I went to the doctor. I have this underlying issue, but instead of dealing with the underlying issue, just keep giving me prescriptions that deal with all of these symptoms. Oftentimes, that's what we find in a lot of material that's out there. That's what it's doing, is trying to show you how to deal with the symptoms. But do you want to deal with the symptoms, or do you want to treat the disease? The reality is, if you want holistic healing, you're going to have to treat the disease, which means you're going to have to unpack everything that is stuffed inside that closet and confront it. So what does breaking free look like? Let's really get to that point, okay? And I'm going to build on this on future episodes. But what does breaking free look like? I will tell you this: the kill switch that we don't want to confront, and the kill switch that is going to turn off that supercomputer, right? Just imagine this, like, when you watch certain movies, there's like this moment where the computer is just tearing everything down, and there's this crew of superheroes, and their job is to stop this thing. And they're like, what are you doing? We have to stop it. And they're trying to find this place where the kill switch is buried, and they know they have to do it. One of my favorite shows on Netflix is 100. And if you've ever watched 100, they had this supercomputer named Allie that they need to turn off, because if they didn't turn Allie off, she literally was going to basically blow up the entire world. So this entire episode was about, getting to her mainframe and hitting that kill switch. They had to hit that kill switch, because if not, she literally was going to blow up the entire world. Well, your supercomputer, right, is blowing up your life. The way it blows up your life is looking like you being super exhausted. It's looking like strained relationships. You're not satisfied. You're not fulfilled. You're exhausted. You're not your best self. You know it. And yeah, you might have that outward appearance of success. It's so easy, right, to look like everything is perfectly fine, but you're hurting inside. You're struggling inside, and you're putting all this effort and all this energy out, but you're not truly satisfied. And the harder you fight, it's like the more and more it gets away from you. Like, what is that all about? Well, that is your supercomputer essentially running your life. It's running your life, and it's blowing up all of the plans and all the intentions you have for yourself. You think it's helping you, but it's not. So where is the kill switch? What is the kill switch? What is the thing that is going to turn this thing offline so you can finally resume control of your life? Or this, for many of you, this is going to be you getting control of your life for the first time. So you can get control of your life, reclaim your power, and actually steer your life in the direction that you want it to go. Okay? The first thing you're going to have to do is obviously awareness. The awareness that stuffing everything in that closet is not going to work, right? So if you have anything that you want to stuff, don't do it. No more stuffing things in that closet. We're going to deal with it from now on, okay? But what do we do about all those things, all those skeletons in the closet, right? What do we do about all that baggage that is in there? It's probably overwhelming to even think about. You're going to have to confront it. If you want to reclaim your power and you want to break free and get out of this prison of your own making, you're going to have to confront everything that you stuffed away in that closet, because it's not in a closet. You are feeding a monster, and that monster is running your life, meaning your subconscious mind, and it's time to heal it. Okay? So what is that going to look like? What is going to be the special sauce? What is going to be the secret, Michelle? What is going to be that one thing that's going to solve all of my problems, that's really going to just get things going in the right direction? Listen, babe, when I tell you, you're not going to like it, but you're going to know it's the truth. You're going to know it's the truth. You ready? You're going to have to forgive. Yeah. I know. Trust me, I know. You're going to have to forgive. Holding on to these grudges, holding on to this offense, okay? Holding on to this anger, holding on to this resentment, holding on to this bitterness, it is not going to help you manifest the life that you desire. You are only feeding that supercomputer. That's what you're doing. And the hard part is that you probably feel like, wait, when you think about some of the things that are inside that closet, you're like, wait, I know a situation. I know a scenario that I stuffed in there. You're telling me that I need to forgive that? Yes. The most horrible, the most horrendous things you have ever gone through in life. You're going to have to find a way to process it, deal with it, and forgive it. Now, this is the problem with forgiveness, is that we think that forgiveness means that we let people off the hook, and we're giving them permission to do these things to us again, and we're saying that it's okay. No, that's not what you're saying at all. What you're simply saying is that I am freeing myself from what you did to me. I am no longer a prisoner to somebody's wrongdoing towards me, because they're not in prison. All of that stuff, all of the feelings you have about these different scenarios and situations that you've gone through in your life, probably from the time you were a child, all the people that have done these different things to you, they're not in prison. All the stuff that you stored away in your mind, they're not the ones that's sitting in that prison. It's you. Every single bar that is in that prison, it's every single experience that you've had. So if you're going to want to break free, you're going to have to address every single bar that you've put up to protect yourself. Because when you thought you were building a fortress, you end up finding out that you were actually building a prison. But this is the beautiful part about it. It's a prison of your own making. And because it's a prison of your own making, you'll begin to be able to tear it down. But again, there can be a lot of fear there. There can be a lot of hurt. There can be a lot of trauma And it's like, how do I approach this stuff? And I never recommend you to approach it alone. I never, because there's some things that are buried so deep in some of us that you need some help. You need professional help to get through it. I completely understand that. I completely do, which is why I created the 21-day faith-centered transformation guide to help you begin to unpack these things. But I also believe 100% in getting professional help. Sitting down with a professional, I recommend a faith-based professional, but a professional regardless that is going to help you process this stuff. Okay. Now, obviously, if that's not something you can do currently, the Boss Babe Sanctuary is here to support you on that journey. I'm going to continue to put out content to help you process and get out of that space. But especially going into the New Year's, guys, you're going to have to unpack that closet. And a lot of content I'm going to be doing till the end of the year is about unpacking that closet in the different ways that being trapped in that place it shows up in our life. So when you begin to forgive and you begin to go through the process of forgiveness, and it's not going to happen overnight, okay? But what you're doing is you're releasing yourself and you're freeing yourself from the version of you that you're being that emotional sequence has control over. Let me help you understand further. So the reason you have to be a control freak is because there's different scenarios that happen inside of your life that made you being a control freak so vitally important. So if you heal from the situations that birthed the control freak out of you, then now you having to be in the emotional sequence of a control freak and impacting different relationships in your life. Maybe it's impacted your romantic relationships, your friendships, your family dynamics, etc. You having to be in that state of mind, it will no longer be useful any longer. It will no longer serve you because the scenario that gave you permission to be that version of you, you've dealt with that scenario. And so what ends up happening, especially for boss babes, is that we end up having so much success out of the things that created a wounded and a traumatic version of ourselves. And because we found success, we found a pedestal, let's say, we found the status, we found the accolades. Because we have so much of that success, we think that it's unnecessary to unpack what's going on in that closet because it's fueling your fire. But again, look at the quality of your life, not the quality of your shoes, not the quality of your bag, not the quality of your hair, not the quality of any of that, the quality of your life. The truth of the matter is, you as a person, the whole you as a person, the restored you as a person, when you are in that loving, safe, free state, you're going to have relationships that you feel safe in. You're going to feel safe and comfortable within yourself and in your own skin. So not only is this going to have a beautiful impact on you and the way you take care of yourself and the way you love yourself and all of these different things, it's going to have an impact on the quality of your relationships. So this idea that, we can just make all the money in the world and our relationships are terrible, our relationships with ourselves and our relationships with others is terrible, it makes absolutely no sense. And then the other piece of it is that when you do have relationships with people and they do seem intact, what version of you? Are you able to show up as yourself, or do you need to be a workhorse or a work mule, or you need to constantly, show up for certain people in a certain way, and that's the only time that you're accepted? Are you accepted for who you are, or are you accepted for what you do? So when you begin to deal with the things that are in this closet, what you're going to find is there's a version of you that you are currently today. And that version of you, the only reason it's allowed to exist is because that supercomputer is on. And when you hit the kill switch, if you ever watched the show 100 on Netflix, check it out. When you hit the kill switch, the version of you that has been brainwashed, because that supercomputer is controlling your brain. So that part of you that has that chip in your head, and that chip says, oh my gosh, you're losing control. This is what you do. Oh my gosh, rejection is coming. This is how you behave. Oh my gosh, abandonment is going to happen. This is what you need to do. That switch or that chip in your brain that was able to be turned on once that emotion was activated, that chip is gone. And when that chip is gone, ladies, you cannot run on that system any longer, because it won't turn on. And when you're not operating on that high level, that high system, that emotional charge that has you in this constant fear of what's going to happen next, who are you then? Who are you going to be when you feel safe? Who are you going to be when you feel free? That's the version of you that you want to arrive at. So some quick homework for you, and what I recommend you do to begin that unpacking process is get a journal. Fresh journal doesn't have to be expensive. I have a link in my description that can lead you to my Amazon storefront that has the different journals that I recommend that I've used. Okay. I want you to get a fresh journal, and I want you to write and date every single day. A habit I have when I'm journaling is I like to put the date and the year and the time that I am journaling. I like to look and know, okay, at 2:32 p.m., this is what I wrote. At 6 o'clock in the morning, this is what was on my mind. I like to be able to see that. Okay. I want you to write out and number it every single instance that you can recall that you've thrown inside the closet. Every single out of sight, out of mind moment, I want you to go ahead and confront it. It's time. So what I want you to do is grab your journal, and I want you to create a list of every single moment, every single thing that is in that closet. It doesn't matter if you were 4 or 5 years old when it occurred. If you remember it, write it down. Before you know it, the floodgates are going to open. Okay? And I want you to begin to write everything down. If it becomes a lot for you, I want you to sit down, put some worship music. Matter of fact, while you do this, I recommend you're putting on some soothing worship music and calling in the Holy Spirit to this moment, so that you're not doing it alone, so that you're not healing by yourself. And you tell him, Lord, I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up this closet, walk me through it, help me through each instance. As you begin to write down everything, just everything that you remember, you're going to trauma dump everything into your journal. It doesn't matter how many pages it takes, trauma dump it all. And then one by one, you're going to take it to the Lord. And you're going to reconcile these things between you and God. One by one. Guys, it might take you 3 months to resolve this. It could take you 6 months. It could take you 2 years. It could take you 3 years. It could take you 4. Nonetheless, when you are done, you will be healed, you will be whole, and you will be restored. And that's the version of you that we want walking this earth. Okay? That's the version of you that we want empowering women. That's the version of you that we want you leading the next generation. That's the version of you that's going to be in loving, amazing, thriving relationships. It's that version of you. It's that version of you that's going to know how to love herself and how to love others and how to set proper boundaries and how to treat herself and treat others with respect and kindness. That's the version of you that's going to have nothing but beauty and grace to offer to others. That's the version of you. But this version of you is a shell of yourself. And if you want to stop being a shell of yourself, because this world, when you are perfectly fine with being a shell of yourself, you know what it's going to tell you to do? Put a brand on it. Put some lipstick on it. Put some shoes on it. Put a purse on it. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly okay. That's not God's best. That's not what God wants for you. He has so much better. And your purpose and everything about you is going to be birthed out of this. But you have to be willing to confront that closet. And it may feel haunted. It may feel scary, but you have to confront it, because that's the only way you can shut the supercomputer down, your subconscious mind that is leading your life. So if you're dealing with constant self-sabotage, if you're finding yourself in these reoccurring patterns, if you're starting to see like, oh, why do I keep ending up in the same situation over and over and over again? It's because of the things that are stored there. And once you begin to unpack these, then you can pick up better habits, better traits, better things that align with the woman you truly are versus the woman or the girl that you're protecting. It's time to get control. Reclaiming your power means being able to let go of the past. Not toss it away, not throw it away, not hide it away, but genuinely release it. And that's going to require you to surrender. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check out my 21-day faith-centered transformation guide. It is there to support you in this process and in this journey of just becoming the best version of yourself. It's going to have daily journal prompts. There's about 4 or 5 on a daily basis that are going to allow you to be able to pour out internally just a lot of the things that you have pent up that are allowing you to remain in this state. It's going to go from acknowledge to flourish. Every single day is going to be a focus. Today is going to be focused on acknowledge. The next day might be focused on release. The next day, focus on forgiveness. Every single day is going to be focused on until you get to flourish. And the beautiful part about this is you can do it as many times as you need to, as many cycles as you need to. It's a great tool to support you on this journey. So, ladies, if you are ready to get your power back, reclaim your power, and break free, it's time to open the door. No more of that stuff just hiding away in that closet. It's time to confront it. You deserve it. You deserve healing. You deserve wholeness. You deserve love. So, I appreciate you, ladies. Till next time, y'all have a great day.